Hey guys, Tim with On the Run. Today, let's look at a budget-friendly option of upgrading the rear suspension on our Jeep Gladiators. So one of the weak links when it comes to the Jeep Gladiator on the rear suspension is actually for our rear sway bar. And it's this point right here. Right where our rear sway bar end link connects up to the frame. You can see it's a pretty small mounting point here. There's not a whole lot of anything substantial for all that to attach to, and it can be prone to breaking. There's been some reports of guys who have broken those, and you know, it usually happens once we start adding a bunch of weight and everything else to the backs of these Jeeps, which is kind of normal if we're using them for off-road activities. You know, we put our hard tops on, we put the rooftop tents, the awnings, all those sorts of things, and it just adds to that overall weight. Well, there's a relatively simple and budget-friendly solution to this if the budget doesn't allow for replacing the whole sway bar with a whole upgraded solution, which is, in all honesty, the best thing to do. But not all of us can afford to spend $1,500, $2,000 on a rear sway bar setup at the moment, and so there's a company that has a good solution for us. So let's go take a look at that. So that's where MetalCloak comes in. So MetalCloak has actually come up with a direct factory bolt-on application that can add some strength to our rear sway bar end link mounting points. They utilize bolts and mounting points that are factory on the frame itself, so there's no drilling, there's no modification required. This is simply a factory bolt-on that should just take only a few moments to install. Let's go put it on. So this is a thick piece of steel. I guess it's about 1/4 inch or so, welded up from MetalCloak and designed to, again, just be that factory bolt-on solution. That's going to add all of this strength to our mounting point for that end link connection there. First, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the end link from the frame mount. Just going to kind of set that out of the way. And then we're going to take off the 2 bolts on either side of the square cutout. Alright, so they do send a bolt kit with this package, but you only use this bolt kit if you've already damaged your existing hanger. So this is I think they call it like a repair or / reinforcement kit. So in my case, it's going to be a reinforcement kit because I haven't broken anything on mine. And so I'm just going to install it to add that strength over top of the factory mounting points. But if you happen to already break one of those off, you can knock the little metal nutsert type deal, you know, that's welded to the back of this existing bracket. You can knock that out and go back with their hardware. So I'll keep the hardware on hand. I usually keep some spare hardware in the deck system of the Gladiator anyway, and these are some good bolts to keep on hand, so I'll probably do that. But in my case, I don't need it, so I'm going to end up going back with the factory hardware once I install this. So all we have to do at this point is line up our existing plate and reinstall our factory hardware, which I think I am going to probably put just a touch of Loctite on these now that I've loosened them up. It doesn't say that to do that in the instructions, or if it did, I missed it, whatever. But I do like using Loctite on most things. And so I'm just going to use just a little bit, so I'll go grab that. always just like to double check that I'm not pinching anything, since I have run some air lines and such like that for the air springs. We're just going to snug it down. And then we're just going to line our end link back up, put our factory bolt back in. This one we will torque the spec, so I'll look that up and get the torque wrench out. Alright, so I did just quickly loosen these back up. I should not have tightened these first. It does go, you know, it's probably the benefit of actually reading instructions before you actually try to do something, but who's got time for that? So you are supposed to put this bolt in first and torque it, and then do the final tightening on these two bolts. This was just slightly askewed. It was actually twisted upwards just a little bit, so I couldn't get the bolt lined up perfectly. So I just loosened this, let it come back down, and tighten this down, and I'll torque it, and then we'll come back and tighten those. The torque on this upper bolt here is 81 foot-pounds. So, whoops, it would help if I put the right socket on. But 81 foot-pounds, and we'll just go ahead and tighten that down. That's not cool at all. Well, so I said I wasn't going to use the bolt kit that came with it, but I am going to have to now. So when I was tightening this bolt down to torque it to the factory spec, it actually stripped out that little nutsert that's welded on the back. And so now I got to try to extract this bolt, and then I'll drill that one out and put the bolt kit in it. So I'm glad that they do that. Hang on to that one, okay? Hang on. Just hold it nice.
It's not on.
Oh. Now, 2 hands. Hold it straight. All right, try it. Oh. There we go. Got it.
Is that all you need?
Yep. Got it. All right, now that we got that drilled out, we can go ahead and go back to what we were originally doing. I think, maybe, hopefully. Let's just try not to do that anymore. So let's go back to the bolts that I said I wasn't going to use, and let's go ahead and use them now. Hats off to the MetalCloak guys for thinking ahead on including these in this kit. Gotta make sure I got enough thread here to engage the, yikes, the lock nut. Actually looks like I should. So we'll go ahead and give that a try. All right, we've got that torqued. The threads are engaged on the lock nut, so we should be okay there. Got these snug down. Should be ready to put this thing back together. Well, that did not go as expected, but hey, when does it ever, right? But we were able to get everything back together and be able to use all the hardware that MetalCloak sent. Man, hats off to those guys for thinking that through on the repair side of stuff. Even though mine didn't need a repair when I started it, it needed a repair by the time I got close to the end. So that was good. I was able to use all the hardware that they sent, and we've got it back up and operational now. So this turned out nice in the end, but man, was that frustrating, drilling out those little boss fittings and having to extract that one strip bolt, all that kind of stuff. But hey, it's done. They're on there. So we'll give it a few, I don't know, a couple 100 miles or something like that, and we'll recheck the torque on everything. Just make sure that those brackets don't just kind of settle in or anything like that. And we'll see how they do out on the trail. Hopefully that's the end of that, and we don't have to come back to this project again. But overall, I'm very impressed with the quality of the build on that bracket. Now again, it's just steel, but they've got the right cuts, good welds, all that kind of stuff to make it fit just like it should, without any other modifications on trying to get everything installed. Let's get this thing out on the trail and see what happens. Can't forget the stickers. All right, one more thing. After finishing putting the MetalCloak brackets on, shortly after that, I got to looking around on the internet and actually found a pretty decent deal on a brand new Hellwig rear sway bar for the Jeep Gladiator, and decided, hey, while I'm doing that upgrade, I might as well go ahead and do this upgrade. I had every intention of doing this at some point anyway, and found one on sale and was able to snag it. So we're going to go ahead and install that today. Now again, this is going more of the budget-friendly route as opposed to doing a full-on conversion kit on this rear sway bar, which is honestly the better choice. You know, if we have to pick, it certainly is a better option, especially if you're doing the rock crawling scene, that kind of stuff, as the end links here can be a little bit susceptible to getting damaged while crawling on rocks if you slip off one and hit them. They're just kind of out in the open, but it's really not the kind of stuff that we get into, so I'm not overly concerned about it, and that's why I was okay with going with more of going back with like a factory style sway bar. So that's kind of thinking behind it, a little budget friendly, and again, just not getting into anything serious, but it gives you the ability to select the different holes that you can put it in to make to kind of tune it, if you will, so that the further in you go with them, the more stiffness that you get out of the rear sway bar. And so that was something I was looking forward to be able to kind of adjust it a little bit with that rooftop tent up on the top of the new Overland Vehicle Systems truck cap. And with just all that extra weight, just wanted to get something that was a little bit bigger, a little bit more beefier, and have a little bit of adjustability to it so we could tune it in. So let's go ahead and get this thing swapped out. I probably should have clarified, but all the directions say here is just to take the old one off first. So we're just removing it. Alright, so they do give you some reinforcement plates that you can put at the frame points where we installed the MetalCloak brackets. Obviously these aren't anywhere near as substantial as the MetalCloak ones, but nonetheless I thought it was neat and kind of just a good thought that they actually thought enough to go ahead and give you these anyway, just so that you do have some sort of reinforcement, but we won't be using these. Alright, so we got our hardware they send with us, a couple new bushings, and I've got the brackets for these bushings just underneath the Gladiator right now. But first thing we need to do is lubricate the inside of this to prevent any squeaking and those kinds of noises. It doesn't say how much to use, so I'm just going to use the whole packet. Just kind of line these up just so we can kind of get close. And we put these back in that same position. Alright, here's a pro tip. Don't do what I did. Make sure you have gloves on before you mess with that grease. It turns into like a glue almost on your skin. So I just spent the past 5 minutes just trying to wash my hands off a little bit. So let's put some gloves on before we go trying to hang this thing and get that all on our hands again. Nice. Got my son out here gonna help me hang it. Need to put a little bit of Loctite on each of the 4 bolts for holding that to the axle. Say a little bit as I pour it on there. So we're going to hold it up so I can put these brackets on right here.
Just hold it here?
Yeah.
Do you need to do anything else?
Nope, I don't think so. Thank you. Alright, so they recommend when picking the hole here, they recommend starting with the middle hole until you kind of get a feel for how it's going to drive. I'm kind of tempted to just go ahead and go all the way to the inside one for the most stiffness, firmness to get out of it, because this bar really isn't that much bigger. I measured the stock bar, it was like 0.82 inches, and this is about 0.87 inches, so it's really not that much difference. But since how not everything's kind of gone to plan on all the instructions before, I might just stick with what they recommend this time and start with the middle one. Might come back and change it. Check to make sure it's centered. Alright, get ready to torque those down. Alright, these lower end links are 59 foot-pounds. So now we got these little collars that we've got to put on the inside of these end links here. So we're going to take these collars and put them right on the inside of this bar. I got a little lock nut on, lock washer on there. I am still going to put just a touch of Loctite. All right, so we got everything installed now and everything's torqued. I think we're ready for a test drive. So the instructions just say go drive it, recheck everything, make sure all the torques stay good, everything's staying tight, and it should be good to go. So I think we're gonna call this project for the rear sway bar on this Gladiator done, maybe? Who knows? I mean, who are we kidding? Every project that we say we're done with on a Jeep, just it turns into another project and we put more stuff on it. So I say it's done, but that's probably not true. So we'll see. But anyway, we'll see how this holds up on the trails. Hopefully it'll give you just a little bit more stability with that rooftop tent up there now. And we'll just see how that goes. Yeah. All right, so it has been about 4 months now since we did these upgrades on the Gladiator, where we put the MetalCloak brackets on and the Hellwig rear sway bar. And it has been phenomenal. It's been great. No complaints. I did go ahead and adjust that sway bar to that the inwardmost hole on the sway bar just to do the max amount of stiffness that it offered. And that put it in just the sweet spot for my particular setup. Now, everybody's going to be a little bit different on that. You might need the outer hole, the middle hole, or the inner hole. You just have to kind of figure those things out for yourself. But after driving it around for a couple of months, I went ahead and moved it up to the next, to that highest setting. And then we did one last trip with it on that setting, and it was perfect. No complaints at all. So for budget-minded people, these are great options for your Gladiator. I highly recommend both of them. So much so that I actually went ahead and put the MetalCloak brackets on Rebecca's Gladiator. Now, she doesn't have near the amount of weight on hers, so I haven't upgraded the rear sway bar yet. If we decide to go with a tent on hers at some point, I definitely will be doing that rear sway bar. But as it sits right now, she just doesn't have a lot of weight on it, so she doesn't need that part of it yet. But I did go ahead for the money, again, around $100 or so for those brackets. It's a no-brainer to put those on so that you can deal with those before you actually have an issue out on the trail where you break one. So all in all, would I buy them again? Absolutely. Already have on some of them, and if we go ahead and do some more upgrades to her Gladiator, I will be purchasing the Hellwig one again. So no questions asked, I would purchase those. Highly recommend them. I'll leave links down in the description below so that you can go check those out for yourself. We have done a few trail rides now with these, and again, no complaints. Everything's performed just the way they should, and it's added just that that little bit of extra stability that we were looking for when we've added all this weight. So we've got a couple more videos that are coming out where we've done a few more trips. Be sure to go and check those out. We've got a few fun spots that we found that are now family friendly and just a good option if you're just looking out just to go out and have some fun. So those will be coming out soon. So be sure to like, subscribe, turn the notifications on, all those normal things. You know what to do there. Just make sure you do them. It really helps us out. And we'll see you guys out on the next trail.